Welcome to Men Going Home. I'm Chris Wolfe, and we've got another great show for you today because we are the only show that brings you access to a segment of society very few people know anything about. Men who have spent more than 30, 35, and even 40 years in prison. We'll talk to them about their crimes, their life in prison, and what their transition back into the free world was like after all those years. Now, before we introduce today's special guest, please welcome my good friend and co-host of this show, Andy Corge. Andy, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Chris. Good to be here.
Great two-part series we had over the past couple of weeks with David Goodwin. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, first off, the Sandy Creek murders in Panama City, they've written books about it. So, I mean, it was an incredible case. You wonder about the justice being served in that case with David. He was not anywhere near where the murder was committed and really didn't have direct knowledge. He was there as a smuggler of marijuana.
Correct.
Which is illegal, and he should serve a penalty for that. But he wasn't there to commit a murder, or really had any knowledge of a murder being committed.
No, he was nowhere near where the murders were committed. He had nothing really to do with the murders yet. Some of the people who actually should have gone to prison in that case never did, and he ended up with 3 death sentences. It shows, as you said, twisted justice and the inconsistencies in our penal system.
Very much so. The other part of it was just the incredible journey that David took, through prison, 41 years, being on death row. It's the first guest we've had that actually has been on death row, and we got a glimpse into what that is all about. So all of that was incredibly interesting and compelling and riveting in some cases. And I urge, obviously, people maybe watching this show, go back and see the 2-part series with David Goodwin.
And his description in terms of what it took to survive 40-some years in prison was absolutely amazing. And it really shows how much it takes to survive that many years in prison.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We have a similar story today with Felix Lugo, and he's spending a similar amount of time in prison. And I'm sure it's going to be equally as compelling.
Yeah. Well said. Let's introduce today's special guest. At the age of 17, Felix Lugo stole 5 automobiles and was sent to Okeechobee State School for 2 years. He later escaped. Several years later, he pleaded guilty to 2 counts of 2 counts of second-degree murder and 1 count of attempted second-degree murder. Felix has spent over 42 years in Florida's most violent prisons, and he is here today to tell his true story about his criminal life, his life in prison, and his life today. Please welcome our special guest, Mr. Felix Lugo. Felix, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mr. Wolfe. Thank you, Mr. Andy, for having me on the show, sir.
Felix, your story is a very interesting story. You actually were born in Cuba, and you escaped Cuba in 1965. Talk about that.
Well, my dad, first I'm going to tell you about my dad. My dad was a Marine for Batista government. When Castro took over, my dad had to leave Cuba before he get arrested by Batista. At that time, when I was in Cuba, I was living with him and my stepmother. And when he left, I stayed with my stepmother.
But did he have to escape, or did he leave some other way?
No, he had to escape.
And how did he escape?
He escaped. They took a Marine boat, a boat from the Marines, where he was, the place he was staying at,
Okay.
The military base?
The military base where he was staying. Mm-hmm. So as soon as Castro took over, they took the boat and came over here.
So he escaped to Miami in 1959.
Yes, sir.
And then 1 year later, your stepmother, she also escaped?
No, she came legally on the plane. In 1960, she came over. They had some planes that was at that time. You can claim the person over there, and they used to let him out legally.
Okay, so now your father is living here in Miami. Your stepmother is here in Miami. Where are you living? You're in Cuba?
When my stepmother left, she let me stay with her father, which was my father, mother, and father-in-law. They had a farm. So they took me to the farm, and I stayed with them. I grew up with them.
Okay.
until age 12 that we came to the United States.
Okay, so in 12, you're age 12, now we're talking 1965.
Yes, sir.
Your father makes arrangements for you and his wife's family to escape Cuba, correct?
That's
How did
correct.
that happen?
Well, it was a guy over here in Miami that used to be from the same town I was. It was a little beach over there with their fish, and he escaped first. And then when he came over here to Miami, he used to charge $1,000 for each person. He go back in Cuba, like dressing like Cuban military,
Right.
and they go at night. They sneak in there. They go to your house. They tell you at what time to be ready. They leave the boats on the beach hiding, and they tell you at what time to be ready.
All right, now, how many people were in this? They apparently had 2 boats, correct?
Yes, 2 small boats.
So how many people were leaving with you from, was it Havana?
No, it was from area they call Pinar del Rio.
Okay, so how many people were leaving on these 2 boats?
Like 23 people.
Okay, so you guys, you take off, you're in the ocean, headed towards Miami. What happens?
No, we didn't took over yet. We had to walk. We had to walk on the woods for about maybe 10 miles before we get to the boat.
Okay.
At night, hiding, and all that, so they won't see us. So, but it was coming people from everywhere, from Havana, from Pinar del Rio, where I was from.
Okay.
And
How
all
big
that.
of a boat was it?
They were like maybe 28 feet.
Okay. All right, so
28.
there's 2 28-foot boats. Fine,
Yes,
you
sir.
get to the boats.
Yes, sir.
You guys take off. How many days were you out at sea?
We didn't took off the same night. When we went to take off, one motor has broke.
Before you left?
Yes, when they tried to go out that night, one motor broke. So we couldn't go out that night. So we had to stay hid. Okay, the next day they couldn't fix the motor. So the guys that went and got us, they said, okay, the kids and the woman leave, and the boat that was good.
Okay.
And then we come back and get the rest of the people. We left, and when we left, a bad weather got us, and
Okay.
we almost got sunk. So we had to come back to land.
Okay.
Okay, this
In
is second,
Cuba.
In Cuba, this is second day now. Okay, at the third day, they said, what we're gonna do, we're gonna put a rope to the other boat, and we're gonna try to live like that. And we did. We
Okay.
did, because back in them days, the security in around Cuba was not that
Okay, so the one boat was actually towing the other boat.
true.
Okay, now let's get a little closer to the United States. So you're out in the middle of the ocean,
Yes.
and didn't you say at some point the United States Coast Guard finds you and they tow you in, correct?
Well, the first person to find out was a big Texaco oil ship
A tanker.
tanker,
Right.
a big tanker. That was the first one that saw us, and they came back. We have been in the ocean 3 days.
Okay.
3 days, no water. The water had run out, no food. So when the tanker got close to us, it was a huge tanker.
Right.
We told him it was a person there that speaks Spanish at the time, and we told him that we were from Cuba, that we're trying to come to the United States. So they didn't pick us up. What they gave us apple. First time I ever seen an apple.
Okay.
Because I never seen no apple in Cuba. I was from the country. Right. Peanut butter. I didn't know what peanut butter was, but they gave us a lot of food, and they called the Coast Guard. Like 2 hours later, the Coast Guard came, and they put a rope to the other boat, and they tore us in Key West.
Sorry, so they take you to Key West. How long did that towing take?
Like 3 hours.
3 hours. And
So you were close to the United States
Yes,
at that
we
point.
was close to the United States.
All right, so how long were you in Key West, and then they shipped you to Miami?
I was in Key West overnight, getting shot, because at that time, I don't know, at that time you get a lot of shots when you come in the country.
Okay.
So we was getting shot and looked by the doctors, and then the next day they drove us to Miami.
And
you went to live with who at that point?
At that point, my dad was here, my stepmother was here, so
what neighborhood were they living at?
they were living in Overtown at the time.
All right, so how long was it then when you started attending public school?
Right away.
Right away?
My first school was a little school in 7th Avenue, 11th Street that is not there no more, Highland Park.
Highland Park?
And then I went to Comstock, which is on 17th Avenue.
Right. And then you ended up at Miami Jackson High School, correct?
I ended up first in Booker T, Washington for 1 year.
Okay.
It was a junior high back then. Then I went to Robert E. Lee. And I was getting in trouble there so much, a lot of fighting and all that at the time. So my auntie was living in Hialeah. So I went to Filer for 1 year.
But you dropped out of high school in 10th grade. Why?
Because first I didn't like school, to tell you the truth. Then I was doing wrong things, and I wanted to make money, and I didn't want to go to school no more.
So you just dropped out. And your dad was okay with that?
No, my dad was not okay with that, but he put me to work. He told me, okay, if you're dropping out of school, you got to go to work. So
okay.
What did your dad do for a living?
Well, my dad, when I first came over here, he used to disappear for months. He used to disappear for months. And then later, I found out that he used to work for the CIA a little bit. The people that used to come at that time, they used to go back to Cuba and do things against Castro and all that. So
he was an anti-Castro operative?
Right. So he used to disappear and then come back. And after he retired, we used to work together as a electrician helper. Me and him worked together.
Right. But he also worked at a sugarcane factory in Belle Glade?
Close to Belle Glade, on 27 road, on Okeechobee, which is 27. There used to be a place there named Talisman. It was a sugarcane field.
Okay.
A sugarcane company. Mm-hmm. And a lot of Cubans back then on the 60s used to go there and work on that place.
You said he was a good provider, a loving father?
Yes. He was good to me. He was a good father. He always took care of me. Even though I was a hard-headed, I didn't get along with my stepmothers a lot because maybe I didn't give them the chance to.
Right. But okay.
What happened to your mother?
My dad and my mom got separated as soon as me and my sister was born. I got a sister the only sister that I got on my mom with the same mom and dad. I was born May 26, 1953. And May 15, the following year, she was born.
Right.
So even when we go to May 15, she turned the same age as me until May 26. Right.
Right.
And my mom was young. My mom was 15 years old. So when they separated, my mom couldn't take care of us. So they gave my sister to my grandparents on my dad's side, and I went with him and my stepmother.
And then your birth mother actually had an additional 7 children later, correct? Are you in touch with any of those children now?
Yes, I'm in touch with all of them.
Okay.
And your mother?
No, my mom died when I was in prison, 2009.
All right, age 14, you start getting into trouble.
Yes, sir.
All right, you stole a car. Why did you steal a car?
Just to have fun and to learn how to drive.
What kind of car was it?
Impala, Chevrolet.
And did you sell it? Did you take it to a chop shop?
No.
Why did you sell it?
No,
why did you steal it?
We used to just steal it to have fun. And
joyride?
And joyride. And I remember the first one that I stole, I hit I don't know how many cars on the side because I didn't know how to drive. But yeah, it was just for fun. We just kept it for a couple of days or whatever, and then throw them away. Let them whatever.
Right. And you obviously no concern for consequences?
No concern for fingerprints, no concern for nothing like that.
Speaking of fingerprints, how many cars did you steal?
About 5.
5. What happened on the 5th? You were 15 years old, 1967, your 5th stolen car. What happened?
I got arrested.
Another Chevy Impala?
Yeah, it was all Chevy because back then, if you didn't lock with the key, the ignition, if you didn't lock it, you leave it in the middle, you can turn it on without no keys.
Police are zeroing in on you as a car thief. Why you? Why were they focused on you?
Because the people I was dealing with had got busted already. So the guy, one of the guys, had told on everybody they were doing it. It was like 3 or 4 of us. So he had informed the police that we was the other ones doing it. So they went and got the fingerprints. And then when I got my fingerprint, all they matched with me.
Did they? These guys were older than you or the same age?
No, same age. Same age.
You know,
kids.
Andy, there's no honor among thieves, okay? Everybody's ratting everybody out to get lesser sentences,
Yes,
and that's what they did with you.
Yeah.
Continuing theme here.
It's a continuing theme on this show, yes.
Yeah, but remember, well, back then it was, ratting. Now, these days they don't call it that no more.
What do they call it now?
Good looking out. Yeah, the people, they do that, they don't want to do no time or whatever, so they...
So the police come knocking on your door in the middle of the night. Talk about that.
Oh, I was asleep, and by that time I was already, I was living with my dad. The police came at night, and my dad, when he woke up, what's going on? So when the police told him and that they were looking for me for auto theft, and where he was so mad. And that night I was glad the police took me because he would have beat me up. My dad didn't play in that kind of part. He didn't play. So I got arrested. I went to youth hall. That was on youth hall back then. Was on 10th Avenue and 28th Street, right behind the.
Marlins Park?
No, not Marlin. Marlin didn't exist at that time. It was
the Orange Bowl.
No, it was the baseball field that was there. Remember, Orange Bowl on 17th
Oh,
Avenue.
yeah.
This is on 28th Street and 10th Avenue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is
It's where the Baltimore
the
Orioles
Baltimore-
used to
that's
practice
who my
there.
team is, because I used to go watch
Bobby
them in
Maduro
spring
Stadium.
Bobby Maduro, yeah.
You're right. That's the name of the stadium.
So your dad had no idea you were stealing cars, and he was mad,
Yes, he was mad, real mad.
and he would have hit you for sure.
Oh, he would. I'm glad.
But let me ask you a question. What did he think you were doing? You dropped out of school a year before that, right?
Well, but at the time I at the time too, when I was young, I had a Miami Herald route, which I used to deliver paper, and then I bought me a lawnmower, so I used to go around.
So he thought you were out there honestly earning a living.
Honest, right.
Yes.
He didn't know I was hanging out with the wrong people.
Okay.
All right, so they take you to youth hall. You're in jail for 3 months, and now it's time for your trial. What happens at the trial?
At the trial, I had this old lady didn't play. I
She was a
remember her
judge?
name. Yes, the judge, Miss Chastain. And
That
when I
old
went
lady
in-
didn't play, huh?
Yeah, she didn't play. She was real rough lady, and she was kind of real old. So when I went in front of her, and she saw that this was my 5th card, she sent me to Okeechobee State School for 2 years.
That's it. Slam dunk, guilty. You had no
That's it.
chance.
Well, back then you didn't have no. You didn't. It was no in youth hall. There was no. No jury or nothing. It was just the judge there. So
And Okeechobee State School for Boys, was that a rough place? A lot of fighting?
a lot of fighting. It was a rough place because it was number of kids, and they had what they call a cottage. Cottage. They had like presidents named Washington, Kennedy, and the people that work in there, we didn't used to call them guard. We used to call them cottage fathers. And it was a place where you had to go. You had to work half a day, and you had to go to group meetings and half a day. But it was rough. It was rough because other cottages used to fight the other cottage, and it was just kids.
But you escaped.
Yes, sir. After probably 7 months I was there, we decided one day, because no fence. They didn't have no fence, and the visitors was your people come, and they check you out and take you out to the. They had like on the woods they had tables and all that.
Right.
So, but if they check you out, they're responsible for you, so you can go nowhere. So, one day we decided, me and 2 other guys, that we were going to take off, and we did.
And you just walked out.
We would just walk out and hit the woods.
When you went there, under those were the conditions that, hey, if you leave this escape, you're going to the big house?
Well, they didn't say that, but one condition there was, if you escape and they catch you, probably the whole cottage is going to jump on you, because you put a lot of pressure on the cottage, on the other kids too, So that was one of the conditions. So we hit the woods, and we stayed like 1 week from Okeechobee to make it to Miami.
So you decided we're going to walk to Miami.
Yeah, well, that's the only way we couldn't hit the road because they were looking for us.
But
And
you walked.
these guys, you knew them before? You knew them from the
No,
youth
one of the
center?
guys used to go to school with me, so I knew him from the street. The other one I didn't.
So you're all from Miami?
Yes, we all from Miami.
So you hit the orange groves and start walking, and you get all the way to Palm Beach, and then what happens?
Then we on the gas station. Well, we behind the gas station. We saw a band with some hippies back then, and we went and told them if they could give us a ride to Miami, that I would give them money when I arrive in Miami and go see somebody. I would give them money for gas. So they let us come in and took us to Hialeah at the time, and when I got to Hialeah, I went to see somebody, got some money, and gave him for gas.
But were your parents notified you had escaped?
No, at the time, nobody knew that I had escaped because I went to find my other buddies that were still out, and I went to their house to stay with them. I didn't go home.
Yeah, but didn't the authorities alert your parents, hey, your son has escaped from youth detention?
You know what? I never knew if they did or not because my dad never mentioned nothing to me.
That's amazing.
So-
how that worked back then.
Yes, they didn't.
So you get to Miami, and you said you're hanging out with the wrong crowd, living on the street, doing drugs. What drugs were you doing?
Back then, every drug that you had, acid,
LSD.
LSD,
Cocaine.
The only thing I never did in my life, because till to this day, I almost pass out every time, is the needle. When I go draw blood, well, I'm about to pass out. I never did that. It was a lot of that going out on them days back then, but I was so scared of that I never did that or tried that because the needle, I was too scared of the needle.
But you get arrested 3 months later. What happened?
Okay, when I got arrested 3 months later, I thought I was going back to Okeechobee, which I didn't. They put me in Dade County Jail. I was 16 at the time now.
This was adult jail.
Yeah, Dade County Jail, 6th floor, 683.
We've heard some horrible things here about the Dade County
Right.
Jail. I don't know. This is back in 1970.
1967.
No, this is here now is 69 because
69.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah. So was in 1969? Was it like we've heard from other people in terms of the violence and the aggressiveness and the corruption in that particular prison or
Well,
jail?
in 1969, when I got put up in 683, which it was supposed to be one of the worst floors back then. I don't know why I got put up there, but I went to a cell that it was a lot of Spanish people back then. And everybody, when I went in there, maybe because I was a kid, they look at me, you know, like they treat me real nice because my age or something. But
Right.
that cell that I was in, it was not, at that time, it was not, for me, it was not violent.
So how long were you in that jail?
I stayed there like 5 months.
5 months, and then they let you out, and that was it.
They never took me back to Okeechobee.
You
or
never
nothing.
went back
They
to-
let me out. I don't know what happened, but one day they came and told me they would let me out, and they let me out.
So you
So I
finished
didn't-
your time at Miami County
County
jail, and you never went back to Okeechobee. Not another word about
Not
Okeechobee.
a word about Okeechobee.
That's
I never understood
that's
why.
very
And,
interesting.
yes, I never understood why.
so now you get out. You're 17 years old.
Yes.
Okay. So now, at this point, at least you're doing okay. You're working with your father and your brother-in-law, stepbrother.
Your stepbrother.
What
yes.
are you doing?
We're doing electrician. We build them Fontainebleau Park over there in
Oh,
Flagler in 87. We did all the electrician over there at that time. They were building, and we did a lot of work over there.
Was it 2 years that you were in detention and then Dade County Jail? Did it make you want to kind of straighten your act out, get your shit together, so to speak?
I did for a while. It did for a while, but then I forgot.
Well, you said you were straightened out until 1975. You're 22, 23. What's going on?
No, after that, I went and hang out with the wrong crowd again. We started doing drugs again, and
You got your own apartment?
Got my own apartment at that time, and I'm still working, but I'm still doing the wrong things too. I was, selling a little drugs and this and that, trying to make money extra. And
yeah.
And,
1977, you're 25. Your best friend comes to your apartment with his 16-year-old cousin.
24.
You were 24? Okay. But your best friend comes to your apartment with his 16-year-old cousin, and apparently the 16-year-old cousin was selling Quaaludes, and he has a problem. Talk about that.
Okay, and I got an apartment in Miami Springs, right in Royal Ponciana.
Mm-hmm.
And the 747 was there. It was a nightclub there, 747. I had like a block away from 747. I had the apartment. And one night, I remember it was a Monday night, and one of my best friends brought his cousin with him and explained to me that he had got in the project. He used to deal a lot of Quaaludes over there.
Sell Quaaludes.
Yes, it was some black people.
Right.
Okay, so he went to sell some, but they ripped him off. So he came to me, my friend, which is his cousin, and told me what had happened. So I asked them, what do you want her to do?
Hold on 1 second. Now, how much money we talking here? Quaaludes, $50 worth, $100 worth of Quaaludes?
I don't even know the amount.
Okay.
At that time, I didn't even know the amount.
Okay, so they want your help to get the drugs back.
Yes, they said, well, what we should do? I said, well, let's go over there and talk to the guys and explain to them that the kid, if he don't get the money, he got to pay them people. They're going to do something to him because some other people would give him the Quaalude to sell.
Right.
So we went over there, and when we were talking to the guys over there.
How many guys were there?
It was at least 15 or 16
Okay.
people. Okay.
And how many of you?
3.
Okay, and what did they say to you?
They threatened us. If you don't get out of here, we're gonna kick you behind and all that, and so we left. And we went back to my apartment. So we talk, and so I said, "What y'all want to do? Let's decide what you want to do." So everybody, they said, "No, we want to go back and trying to get it. We go over there and trying to get the thing back. So how we gonna do it? No, we're gonna go there with guns and all this and all that." Okay, so
wait a minute. Let me stop you. So, were you actually going back with the intent to get the drugs, or go back and just shoot it up?
well, we went to the intention to get the drug.
Okay.
Okay, but when we got there, I thought at first that we were gonna go in there and try to get, when we had the guns, to get the drug back.
Right.
But when we got there, the kid got out and shot.
The 16-year-old cousin gets out and opens fire.
Open fire.
You had no idea he was going to do that.
Well, no, because we had talked before that we were going to try to get it back first.
Now he's got the shotgun.
Right.
So he shoots first.
Yes, I got a 9mm and the other guy got a 38.
So was he enraged going over there? Could you tell he was enraged or in a state of mind that would lend to him just coming out of a van and start shooting people up?
Not really, but I don't know what made him, when he got out, instead of us to talk again, because now we got guns, so we can talk.
Right.
So he didn't look like he was in that kind of rage, but I guess he was already mad because he had to pay the other people or whatever,
Right.
So he opens fire with the shotgun, and you open fire with a 9mm, and the other guy's got a 38 special.
Yes.
So what you say is he opens fire with the shotgun, and you see two people go down.
Right.
Now, were you trying to hit somebody, or were you just a bad shot?
I think I was a bad shot because at the end, none of the 38 or the 9mm did any damage or anything.
Right.
So,
But once he shot, you guys pulled out guns with the intent of shooting those other people that were there. There were still 15 people? Or
yeah, but they were running at the
they were
time. They were
scattering
scattering
all over,
out, yes.
all over the place.
And I'm assuming there was no thought to any consequences of this. You're 24, 25 years old.
No, at the time, I mean, I mean, I thought when the two guys went down, I thought, but they don't even know me there, so I didn't really think about the consequences.
Where exactly was this in Miami?
This happening in 22nd, like around 22nd Avenue and 20th Street, Miami, by Curtis Park.
The old Curtis Park.
Right. All right. So all three of you guys get in the car, you drive off, you separate, you take off.
Yeah. All the guns disappear, everything thrown away, disappear. We split. I mean, I go to my way, they go to their way.
And you threw your gun somewhere, you disposed of
no
it.
Guns, everything was disposed.
But the 16-year-old, he gets arrested first because they kind of knew him because he was the one that they...
He hang out there. He was
Right.
doing all the time.
Well, there was 15 people there.
Yeah.
They could easily identify him, right?
Yeah, because he used to be there all the time.
Right. You guys, they didn't know.
They didn't know.
But the 16-year-old gets arrested, but interestingly, it's not on the news, but what happens? He gives you guys up to the police?
Right. The officers, when they arrest him, they don't put it on the news because they figured out if they put him on the news that we knew to take off. So they hold it with like real quiet. They hold it real quiet. And when they arrest him, he gave his cousin name and my name and where we stay at and everything.
How long after did you get arrested?
Maybe like 3 or 4 days later.
And how did your arrest happen? How did it go down?
Oh, I was asleep. I was like 2 o'clock in the morning, sleep, knock on the doors. I mean, real hard knock. And when I opened the door, wow, it was like 12 or 15 police out there.
They were surrounding the place?
Yes, they surround the place. They put me in handcuffs. They read my rights and they checked the apartment, but I didn't have no gun or nothing, so.
They never found the 9mm.
Never found nothing.
And he just gave you guys up to hopefully lessen his sentence.
Yeah, right. He was.
But ultimately, he shot the deadly shots.
Yes, he did. But he trying to make it now. He trying to make a deal. He's a juvenile, but they put him in the Dade County jail too, and they charge him as an adult.
What are you? All three of you are now in jail.
Yes.
What are
Separate
you all?
floors.
Separate floors. You're not
They
together.
No, they didn't want to put us together.
What are you all being charged with initially?
First-degree murder.
2 counts of first-degree murder.
And 1 count of attempt of first-degree murder and
A weapons charge.
a weapon, even though the weapon was never found.
All right. Now, you ultimately plead guilty to 2 counts of second-degree murder and 1 count of second-degree attempted murder.
Right.
How did that all happen?
Well, the kid was going to testify, so I talked to my lawyer. He was going to testify on my case, so my lawyer told me if I get found guilty of first-degree murder, I can go to death row.
Right.
Because it's 2 first count of death. He said the best thing you do at that time, if you get a life sentence with second-degree murder, you get a 3-year mandatory for the gun. That means that you eligible. That mean they're going to let you out. That means that you got to do 3 years before you become eligible for parole. Okay?
Only 3.
Only 3 because it's a second-degree murder. The reason is 3 mandatory is because the gun. So now you get the second-degree murder life sentence with 3 mandatory. At 3 mandatory, the parole come to see you. Okay?
Right.
Now, all my sentence was given consecutive.
Not concurrent.
I mean, together.
Oh, they were concurrent.
Yeah, concurrent.
Okay,
concurrent,
okay,
bad.
not
Concurrent.
consecutive. Yeah.
Yes, concurrent. Okay, I had a life sentence, 30 years and 15 years, but it was running concurrent. Okay, when you see the parole people, the parole men come to see you, they separate all your sentence and they aggravate you like 120 months on this sentence, 120 months on that sentence.
Right.
And all that come. My first time seeing the parole man was 1980. When they finished with the points and all the aggravation, I had a day for September 2033.
An additional 53 years.
Yes.
So forget the 3-year parole. They're saying your parole date's 53 years out.
Yeah.
Okay. How many years did your friend get?
The little guy got life sentence too.
Right.
But he didn't do that much. He did like 10 or 12 years, and they let him out. He came to the program, to our program.
Right.
Arbelo, Adolfo Arbelo is his name. Doc know him. So he came to our program, and he got out of our program, violate, got reinstated, violate, got reinstated, and now he back on a DUI case. He been back a little while now.
The 16-year-old got
Yes.
8-10 years, but he's back in prison
Yeah,
now.
so he been back in prison. Now he been back for a while.
Usually how it works.
See, that's the inconsistencies in the
Yeah.
penal system that we talk about. And
Yes.
it's
All
really
the time.
awful.
And you know, a lot of people tell me why, all this and all that, but I mean, I'm not. At first, I was kind of mad. At first, I was kind of mad because the time I did, even though I took all the responsibility because I didn't shoot nobody, but I was there. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing because I probably could have stopped it or whatever. So
Yeah, if you
I
were a
was
better
part of
if
it.
you were a better shot, you would have killed somebody.
Yeah, I was part
That's
of
the
it.
bottom
so
line.
I mean, I'm not.
No. You were there. You were
Yes,
guilty. I
I
think
was
what
guilty,
I'm
right.
commenting to Andy about is the inconsistency in the actual penal system is remarkable.
Oh, yeah, it
Yeah, I mean,
is.
there was no difference between you and the guy that got 20 years. You
Yeah.
both
Right.
went there, shot, missed people, and, you had intent to kill people. Both of you, the same intent. There was nothing different.
At the time, I went in there with a public defender, so it's
You know how that works.
yes.
You're 26 years old, 1979, off to Lake Butler reception, where they figure out where they're going to send you, and they send you off to Belle Glade prison up in the middle of the state. How long were you at Belle Glade?
I didn't stay in Belle Glade that long. I stayed probably in Belle Glade like maybe a year and a half, 2 years. I got in trouble.
Well, but wait a second. Before you get into the trouble, you mentioned that Belle Glade was a very rough prison, a lot of raping, drugs, fighting. You said you witnessed several rapes. Talk about that.
Well, it was see, in them prisons when the bus come in with new guys and all that, they all come out there to the bus and they see a young guy or whatever, and they're trying to put him under the wing. They start lying, they start giving him stuff, and all that, and then they're not street smart or something like that, and they go for it. And then at the end, when they don't have no money, so they have to pay any kind of way. So that's what happened a lot of times. And a lot of times, the guys get scared when they get in there, so they want somebody to protect them.
Right.
And that's what they do. And a lot of time, it's not because the Spanish people, they stick together in there. When somebody new come in there, they're trying to put them under the wings, and tell them how things are and all that. And for me, when I got there, I knew people from the street already. So
Right.
I was
So you
just
were
like
somewhat
at home.
protected.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you were
was just
somewhat-
like at home.
And there is that division by race and
No, when I got there, let me tell you, back in those days, when you go in the chow hall, you had the black sit on one side and the white sit on the other side.
Right.
And it was at that time, Then after that, it's no more.
And with the raping, do the guards do anything to stop it, to protect people, or they just look the other way?
Then most of the time they do it when the guards are not around. And Belle Glade was they don't have no rooms. It was a big dorm. It was so overcrowded that they have put in the middle of the road. You're supposed to have only bottom bunks so you can see the dorm. But it was so crowded at the time that's when they opened up 10 cities and all that. They had people so many places that they put double bunk on the middle so they couldn't see what happened on the back. So that was when a lot of rape was getting in there.
Right. Now, you planned an escape at Belle Glade, but somebody notified the authorities and said that you were planning the escape. Talk about that.
Okay, we was planning at that time. We was working in what they call gun squad. We used to go out and work under the gun. At the time, they had a farm, so you had to go to work there before you get a regular job. So we used to go pick beans, we pick orange, we pick corn, whatever. But it was on the gun. You have the squad with a sergeant in the middle. He didn't have no gun, and then you had 4 guards in each corner with a shotgun. So you go out and all that. So we was planning one time that we was cutting on the canal. We were cutting grass. So what we were gonna do, we were gonna get under, and the people, when they were cutting grass, throw it on top of us. And when they go by, you know, every time you cut grass, we move, the guards move with the guns. So I guess at that time, the other guy that was supposed to, me and him go, I guess he told somebody or whatever, because I ain't told nobody, because I didn't really trust nobody. So he told I guess the officers, and we got arrested one night. They came to us and they told us what we were gonna do. So we always deny. They didn't get us escaping or nothing.
Right.
It was just by what somebody else said. Back in them days, they listened to what other people said.
Right.
But they didn't catch you in the
No,
act.
they
No,
didn't catch me on the
you never
act.
got that far.
No, we never got.
But
that
the
far.
idea was they were going to cover you in grass, basically.
Right.
Yes.
Oh my
yes,
gosh,
yes.
that's
But as a consequence,
creative.
they transferred you to Florida
Well,
State Prison.
Yeah, they put me on they
Close
put me on
management.
confinement. They put me on confinement first. We stayed there in Belgrade like 4 months in confinement before we got transferred. And what they did, they separate us. They sent me to Florida State Prison, and they sent him to UCI,
Okay.
Union Correction, which is right there next to each other. So when you go at that time, when you go to FSP, which is Florida State Prison, you don't go on population. I don't care if you go from Lake Butler or whatever. You go what you call on the back, and then the classification officer come and see you, and they decide if you go in population. Okay, now they go by what they write in your record. You know, Belgrade wrote something in my record that I was going to